Time is up.
So I told Trevor to see if he can troubleshoot from there.
Okay.
Because we have the same problem yesterday.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll
Thank
let
you.
know. Yeah, sure.
Well, many thanks for coming, and today we are making a big initiative, a very ambitious initiative of completing the quick refresher of practical steps for electron dynamics in limited time, shorter than 2 hours. So please try to stay within 10 minutes and for each. And the goal that each attendee of this meeting will be able to run nonadiabatic coupling either by Redfield approach or surface hopping approach. So we have total 7 presentations for about 1 hour 45 minutes. So there is a 5 minutes reserve, but it's better to try to complete quicker. There will be additional meetings to report your personal research update. There will be additional meetings to discuss theoretical background. So if you want to mention theoretical background, just make it quickly. Its main goal is to be able practically follow the procedure, which is challenging and long. And by helping each other, we will be able to repeat it and practice it for each of us for his or her system. So, as a little introduction, the thermal motion of nuclei spoil orthogonality of wave function and allows to dissipate energy of photoexcitation in electronic states into thermal vibration. This is very important because in addition to dissipation of energy, there could be transfer of charge carriers in space for photovoltaics or non-radiative pathway of recombination of these carriers for photoluminescence. So these two processes hardly rely on the dynamics, on how things develop in time. Therefore, this calculation is somewhat more challenging and complicated than regular computational chemistry techniques. So the talks are arranged in a following schedule: molecular dynamics, nonadiabatic couplings, converting couplings into rates, analyzing how the rates can be inserted into the code for propagation of electronic state, and then some observables, at least the photoluminescence observable. And at the end, there will be presentation on surface hopping method, which is beneficial if one need a little bit more precise details of electron dynamics. So with this, I would like to invite Daniel to present. Floor and screen are yours. And there should be a slide advancer here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead.
Well, the topic I was given today was thermal heating and molecular dynamics. So with that, that does work. Okay. So I guess one of the first things that we do with heating and molecular dynamics is solve the Newton's equation of motion. And well, the N stands for the mass, where the dr over dt will stand over the initial velocity of the ith nucleus, and where there's the nuclei, Boltzmann constant, T is the temperature. So then the forces acting with each atom to a certain velocity is then used to solve the Newton's equation of motion. So I guess one of the first things for inserting a heating job on VASP is to grab the template for the in-car. So here is the in-car. A couple of main things to look at is just to look at the temperature at the beginning, temperature at the end. So as the hashtags tell you, it's initial final temperature. So however you want to run your system, just move those. Something I gotta direct your attention to is end block. So what end block, and I guess number of cycles taken, they kind of relate to each other. So in this case, say we set the end block to 4. If we had our cycle at 100, so if like take the numbers of cycle, divide that by the end block. So with the end block, what it does is we kick the molecule with the temperature that we have listed right there, and kick it a couple times, and then we'll let it relax for however many a number of ionic steps that we took it to set to, and we should get sort of graphic.
No, return back.
Yeah.
It's a technical, right?
Yeah.
So what is your S mass equals to -1? What other options? Why is it -1? What does it stays for? What if I choose 0? Or what actually choices are possible for S mass if I want to change it?
If you want to change it, so S mass, changing that would
And it tells you something there.
the velocities scale to each end block. So I guess it takes the inverse of the velocity since we have it set to -1.
And if I set it to 0, then it takes 0 velocities?
I assume that it wouldn't add into velocity, correct?
Is he the only one who's using this?
I guess I usually have to look these up, but would -1 mean that basically it'll set your first temperature at like 1 Kelvin, and then like 2 Kelvin, it'll basically work its way up. Is that what the -1 does?
I don't know.
Okay.
Jebin, you should know, right? S mass -1. He says it's because it's reverse velocity. If we set up S mass equals 0, then it takes 0 velocities. Is it true?
No.
Then what is this keyword stays for?
There is some equation is related with some other things. I need to look on the website.
Equation for what?
It should be related to like the statistical process, like canonical versus like a microcanonical.
Temperature, it's kind of like that.
How you define the temperature, or how you
I
define?
mean, in other words,
Or how you define the
John, we heard you. Good job.
Whether it is canonical or microcanonical ensemble.
Yeah.
So how you define your thermal bus or
Thermal-
thermostat around your system?
Yeah.
So technically, it tells you
I think
you
they
can choose
muted
different
us.
algorithms. And 0 and -1 doesn't have direct meaning. for the
Yeah,
value.
I'm pretty sure
It's
they did.
just the numbering of algorithms.
Same thing as last week. The only way they'll hear us is if they switch us over, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. They don't supposed to present at the end.
-3, -2, -1,
So
and then
no
anything
zero.
bigger than 0 or
Okay.
equal to 0.
So, and again, this is where noisy huzik or no?
And
noisy-
there are some
noisy
other
huzik.
relation with the
How you
positive
call it?
number?
Novi? Read it.
Okay, so for -1, in this case, the velocities are scaled to each end block step, starting at the first step.
But does it have a name for this type of algorithm? No? They don't put the name?
No, it doesn't mention
There
one.
should be
It-
noisy Hoover.
So, I mean, it tells you like how it assigns the temperature essentially. But yeah, there's not like a name for it. The S mass equals 1 is the like continuous increase or decrease.
Braden,
in
if
energy.
you are hearing us, you may want to send an email because we are not hearing you.
You're
Microcanonical
saying no,
ensemble.
that's if it's positive number, then that's following that one of the
Ah,
no, the,
so there are positive numbers as well.
Yeah,
yeah, 0 or
anything greater than or equal
So
to 0
there are,
is fine.
again, yeah. So again, it's not really how you define the temperature, because temperature is just defining your temperature kind of keywords, right?
Yeah.
It's a way how you really set up that this temperature, which is responsible for the surrounding, this is what we call a thermostat or thermal bus, interact with your system, right? And there are very many different mechanisms, very different algorithms are provided in a different way.
Yeah.
So if you read it carefully in the manual, you will see, like, would be good to kind of at least know what is the difference between them. Because it's always a question, which algorithm to use. Like someone just telling you use -1, but in the manual, you have many choices.
Yeah. Okay.
Why you blindly just believe to Dmitri's words? I never believe him. Just like this.
That's something to think about. Yeah.
So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't really know the rest of these other keywords. I guess like a cleanup that I kind of just blindly.
Well,
follow.
again, you have a block which really responsible for this molecular mechanics, how you set up your heating, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a regular blocks which you will see in optimization and so on, how you calculate the electronic structure and so on, right?
Okay.
And this is your
Yeah.
next ones.
Of course.
So, and ionic, yeah. Are there any other questions? Like maybe like this is the right time if you're using this kind of setup, right? And you were looking at it carefully, checking this manual, and just wondering like why we choose, I don't know, I sim equals 0, why sigma equals 3.5, why ISMIR equals 0. It would be really right time to ask. No? No questions?
What is L charge equal to false?
L charge equals false. Presume, I guess, I guess I really never looked into that. I just
Doesn't that just mean that you don't write the charge car file?
Mm-hmm.
overwrite the car charge file.
The charge car file.
Charge car.
Honestly, what you have to do, you have your file, you have your manual open on the website for the VASP, right? So you just go with a keyboard, searching for each of these keywords to check what is in your manual, what each of these values stays for, right? And what kind of other variables, what kind of other settings you can change. This is how you learn, because just using it blindly as a black box, because someone gives you the input file and not understanding what all these settings mean, is not the right approach.
Yeah, that's what you mean.
And again, all this information you can just get from a manual, very easy. You don't need to really even ask anyone. In a manual, you can, like, I guess Landon can answer now any of these questions just because he already opened the manual.
Yeah,
with his laptop.
I spent plenty of time just like, oh crap, what does that do again?
Okay. So
Okay, let's pretend that we understand each of these keywords.
yeah. So changing the end block, like I said, however many steps you take decided. So what we do is since we set our file to
You need to explain what you have on the x-axis and y-axis because they are not marked.
Oh well, okay. For the y-axis, it's just our temperature, and the x is the number of ionic steps that we took in. So originally we set the temperature to 30 degrees. So what it means, like, and my end block was originally set up to 4. I guess I didn't set up those initial parameters. So we see in the 4th step, we kick that up with energy, it goes back down. And again, at the 8th step, we kicked it again, so it relaxes, then it goes back down. And that's just a little trend we follow if we want to trip at the end block. Yeah.
So changing end blocks means like you calculate in different end blocks, or?
No, end block tells you how often you kick. You give extra energy to the electron.
So x is temperature, but temperature, so y temperature and x is time step.
Yeah.
No,
They have nothing
why,
about
why
change.
is temperature?
Yeah, but they have nothing about the changing end blocks.
No. What I mean, like, if we change that initial parameter of end block, say we want 3 instead of 4, so on the 3rd step we would have seen a kick instead of on the 4th step.
Or maybe I missed something.
He just illustrates what this end block means. He's not changing. This is not with different end blocks. You just set up your end block equals 4,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
you see
that
this
title
picture.
actually
But again,
confuses
for
me.
explanation, probably you really should change the end block and show this picture with here is end block 2, here is end block 4.
Yes. I should have done that. Yeah, I guess I didn't really extend that.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So-
welcome.
So I guess another thing is the end card to the molecular dynamics. So initially you're just gonna basically you can't run molecular dynamics till you run a heat job because it uses the velocities that was calculated in the heating job. So for sake of purpose, you just want to copy your POCAR, your K points, and your comp card files from your heat directory. And you're just gonna rename the conc card to a postcard because the conc card has all your velocities that were calculated during the heating job. You just name that to your postcard and you just copy. The only thing you don't have, but just initially grab, is just the in-card template. So something I gotta mention to you too, a little tip is the PTOIM. If we decrease that and we increase the number of cycles, results will lead to a higher resolution whenever it comes to making our molecular dynamic video, which is really interesting to see because we get to see what your reaction, what your cell would do in that case. So for your temperature, you just want to basically use the same settings you use for your heating job, and after that, you just, when you want to make a movie, just grab a software such as BMD. Whenever you go to the movie generator in there, just select your settings and how you want it to rotate or keep it in one view. Just change your settings from there, and then from the format, just choose whichever format you're gonna use to visually present it. Like, I guess if you use like Windows Movie Maker or something, or media player, you can just choose any setting you want. I think runs it all, and that's usually about it for heating and molecular dynamics. Is there any questions?
Okay, well, thank Daniel. Being quick, do not disappear. There could be more questions. Oh, I have one. So, looking forward to next talks, what is the main set of data? Which information is transferred to the next stage of computational protocol? Like, which data from your molecular dynamics calculation Landon will start with in his compilation of coupling?
Spin coupling?
Which data of your molecular dynamics calculation are transferred to the next stage?
Would it be the velocity?
Do not rush. Think for a couple of seconds. You have all the information. So you've told that results of your molecular dynamics calculation can be visualized in the form of movies, right?
Yeah.
So what is movie? What is shown on the molecular dynamics movie?
I guess how your atoms will move around.
Okay. And mathematically, what does it mean? Atoms move around.
Well, how they want to be, I guess, situated to their. Or form of reaction?
Position of each atom in space changes with time. Coordinates change in time.
Coordinates change with time?
Yes. So in which files are they stored?
Would it be in econ-car?
In quant-car, you have only the last set of coordinates. But if you need to, what do you insert into your molecular dynamics visualization?
The postcard?
Postcard has only initial. Like quant-car has only the final. And in your molecular dynamics in-car, you told that you request 1,000 steps of dynamics. Where are these 1,000 sets of coordinates?
Guess it'd be written in the out car. Well,
yes, everything is in out car. Or you can store them into the movie file with some scripts. And probably there should be scripts to store each snapshot of coordinates in a separate file, right?
Not that I'm aware of yet.
But we would like to have such too, right?
Yeah, sure. It sounds like it's helpful.
Okay. Hopefully, Landon will help us to answer this big puzzle.
We just so happen to be in luck.
More questions to Daniel? If not, let's thank him once again. So all files there are uploaded and numbered by sequential number and name of the presenter. If it is not first time when you see Microsoft window, just, yeah.
So I'm going to be talking about non-adiabatic coupling of electronic states. So I guess this is the theory. That's probably going to explain it better than I will verbally. So unless anybody has any major complaints about that, I'm probably just going to move on.
You can tell a couple of words.
Okay, so I guess...
Just your interpretation.
Yeah, so for me, when I'm thinking about non-adiabatic coupling, it's easier to think about what it is that you're ignoring when you're taking an adiabatic approximation, which basically just assumes that there's no connectedness between the electronic states and the ionic motion, or the nuclear motion, to be more specific. So whenever you're taking any non-adiabatic couplings, you're actually considering how your nuclear motion is actually moving and messing with your electronic states, and I guess, like you said earlier, ruining the orthogonality and causing different spatial overlaps in time. And I just took that equation straight out of one of the things that you sent in one of those emails. I don't know who wrote it, I guess. There wasn't the name on there.
And where are coordinates from molecular dynamics that Daniel has computed or taught us how to compute?
That would be the big R, I guess, in both
And what is your time?
The T.
Still imprinted.
But
Anything else, but they are not in online.
okay, probably you need to kind of you. It's here one electronic small r and one is a big one, right?
Yeah, that
So-
notation is a little confusing.
In a way, how is it written? You take,
So I think what they're assuming is that you have all
you
of
just
your...
overlap two Kansham orbitals at
Yes.
moment t and at moment t plus delta t.
Right.
But this dependence stays only on the nuclear time dependence part.
Yes. So the little r, I would imagine, is just whatever point in the space you're looking at, and then these are, the set of all of
So your
ionic-
electronic
or-
degrees of freedom don't change with time. They don't depend on temperature on time.
They... Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So I can do that for myself.
Well, okay, they would have a time dependence through this, I would imagine, because you could determine your electronic state based on your ionic positions, right? Mm-hmm. So because you have
technically-
the time dependence in there, you
So
would then get your...
technically, you're kind of thinking that your position of nucleus is kind of a snapshot,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it's fixed at that moment of time,
Right.
and it's not really moving because they are very slow.
Yeah.
But you're
That's-
still, of course, including that your electronic degrees of freedom is still time dependent, right? And you're kind of solving this equation, which you have this delta t in the front and so on, as a dependence for electronic degrees of freedom.
Say that last part one more time for me. Something about the electronic degrees of freedom. I missed a couple words.
In other words, your r, well, your wave function
Yep.
dependent on a r with the index I, right?
Yep.
And the wave function dependent on a r with the index j, right? They are not orthogonal. Because
Right.
otherwise, if you don't have time dependency for your r, and r is exactly the same, well, I mean,
Yeah,
they have to be orthogonal, right?
Right.
Which means if they have different indexes,
They
then
be
this
zero.
integral goes to zero.
Yep.
But they are not, because technically you're taking them at different moment of time.
Right, yeah, because we've got...
And that's
nuclei
why
in
this
different
overlap
positions.
will have some values, right? Okay.
Right.
But nuclear are considered like really fixed at this moment of time.
Yes. Or at least as far as I'm aware, yes.
I would say I would put it probably backward, like your nuclear is not time dependent, but your electronic degrees of freedom should be time dependent
Okay.
in this equation. But if you understand it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Just the way how you define it. You kind of
Right.
answered it already.
Yeah. Yeah, that would probably make the notation. Yeah, I'd have to think about how to write that. Okay, so after you have run your molecular dynamics, I guess you don't explicitly have to make a duplicate directory, but I would highly recommend it so that you can't mess anything up in your original molecular dynamics directory. So just make a new directory, copy everything from your MD directory into that one. If you have any files that start with a lowercase p, just get rid of those with remove p star, it shouldn't affect anything because none of the important files start with a lowercase p. And then you're going to need to edit the postcar file. Excuse me. The postcar file.
Well, before you go into postcard file,
Yep.
right? So it looks like you don't have wavecars on these directories as an output. Am I right?
Oh, it's right there.
But it's only once. But again, you run dynamics. It should be time dependent then. So your wavecard has information on each of your time scale along the trajectory? Or it's just a wavecard which is taken at the very last moment of your trajectory?
I actually don't know exactly what the wavecard has. It's a binary file, so yeah. I would imagine that our car has a lot of the vital information.
You can take a look on the
size.
size of the wavecard. I mean,
Yeah.
just I should be curious about it. So you can take a look on the size of the wavecard when you create it after the first step of the dynamics.
Yeah,
And if
and
the
then look at
size
it
is not
later.
increased,
Yeah.
doesn't matter was it binary or not. If the size is exactly the same after you'd run thousand or how many steps,
Right, then you're clearly
so
not
clearly
changing
it's just
size.
rewriting your wavecard at each moment of time. And I think this is what is that. What is it doing?
I think
It's
that's how
not
that goes.
collecting information on a wave function at each moment of time because then your file would be enormously
yeah,
huge in
gargantuan.
size. It's just rewriting your wavecard at each moment of time.
Mhm.
But would you recommend to use this wavecard, save it? Is it really useful? Because you said like, oh, you have to duplicate everything from your files. What about this file?
You shouldn't explicitly need that. Well, no, you. Okay.
So
Later on, you will need a wavecard file,
So
but that will be
later
generated.
on, actually, we have to recalculate this wavecard.
Right. Yeah,
at
and you
some
need
stage.
to recalculate it every
Then
time.
the question is, why do we recalculate and why we're not using it right away? So why to do it twice? Spending time for nothing then. There should be some tricks there then.
Why are we doing what exactly twice?
Why are we not using this wavecard? Why we actually have another step to run the WASP and recalculate the wavecards when we calculate non-adiabatic couplings?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. That
Or we
would
use these
actually,
wavecards.
Yeah, that seems like that should be a shortcut.
This is your
should be
after running
viable.
MD, right? So this is
Right,
just
yeah.
you. This is what kind of part which Daniel was discussing,
Mhm.
right? So you run your molecular dynamics. You got all these files.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah.
And,
'cause if-
and then you're saying you copy everything. You're renaming your postcard. I guess this would be on your next slide. But actually, you're renaming your concard probably, right? Not postcard.
Concard to postcard.
Yeah. You use concard for the next step, not postcard.
So concard has a last geometry.
Right. Yeah. It's a
And
postcard. but at the
wavecard
end.
also the wave function
Oh.
of the last step.
Postcard has your initial geometry, but you need
Yes,
concards which
but-
include all information.
I believe that we actually want the postcard and not the concard for this part.
Let's not
I would
confuse. Let's not
think-
confuse each other. Tell us first how many slides do you have?
Like 10.
Okay, before going through the slides, give us in one word or two words approximate content of each slide.
So
And this is slide number 3?
yeah,
Number
something like
2.
that.
Number
Yeah,
2.
this is like the very beginning of what you actually do to calculate your couplings. Because this has turned into a multi-step process every time I've tried to do it. So you run molecular dynamics, then you want to create all of your like PXXX files where XXX is whatever number.
So
added with.
okay, good.
And then? And you will explain how you do it. But then?
Yeah, so after you have all those, I guess I wrote a script on here that I'm going to mention that if you have your molecular dynamics separated into multiple runs, because you couldn't do it all in 48 hours, which is what happened every time for me, then you need to rename hundreds of these P whatever files. So that script basically, and then I'll make a separate directory where you actually do all the coupling computations and run those
So
scripts.
about the coupling computations.
Yeah.
And what is the connection between this PXXX file and coupling computations?
The coupling computations use those PXXX files, which are essentially, they're the exact same thing as a postcard, but at whichever ionic step.
Aha.
Here we
And now please tell what is the connection between PXXX files and question that Daniel was curious about.
Which
Oh
question?
crap, which question
Can you
was that?
remind the question?
Yeah.
Daniel was trying to answer which information
Oh.
his molecular dynamics is funneled towards computation of couplings.
Yeah. So after you run molecular dynamics, you do have all of the information on where all of your nuclei are at every step in time. And so each like PXXX file is a snapshot of your system at that step in time. So we are going to explicitly make a separate file for every dynamic step. And that is coming up next, I guess.
So which number of iBrion you used?
What's that?
Which number you used in iBrion keyword? Or molecular dynamics running?
Is that the one that tells you, or that tells it which things to compute, I guess? I think that one was 2, if I'm not mistaken. If that's the one, I always have to look at I can't, memory is not my strong suit, so I always have to just look at them on the wiki.
But returning back to my first question, so
Okay.
do we need or don't we need this wavecard?
This wavecar
Anyone
we do
can-
not need.
We do not need.
We don't.
Well,
I-
if you rerun your molecular dynamic part, like this was said, like you run it like several times with interruptions. So after you done your first, I don't know how many femtosecond, would you use this wavecard to restart your molecular dynamics? Would anyone use this wavecard to restart molecular dynamics? No? Why not?
I guess.
It will save you a lot of time because
Oh, okay.
anytime when you run DFT, you
Yeah.
start with a guessing wave function.
Oh.
But you don't need to
yeah,
guess
and that
this,
would
right?
just
If
tell
you have this
exactly
one.
where you should
So
be.
if
Okay.
you have interruptions in molecular dynamics, and if you have a wavecard saved and created successfully,
Then you might as well just throw that in the next directory.
use it as an input file to restart it in the next directory and
Okay.
restart it. You save a lot of time with
Yeah.
this. However, you cannot use this wavecard for the non-adiabatic couplings calculations.
Right.
Why?
Because this is only one step of like 1,000.
Oh, you can
So it's not really-
you can run it and resave it, right? Like save it after one femtosecond when it's created, you can call it wavecard 1, then it will be wavecard 2, and 1,000 wavecars. You can probably save them, but we don't do it. Any reason? Anyone knows why you cannot use this wavecard for calculation of the non-adiabatic couplings, or actually for calculation of just regular electronic structure calculations? Anyone knows? No? Have you been ever trying using it?
John Fogel knows.
John?
Do you,
I don't know, does he hear us?
It is very simple and provocative question. Most of you know the answer.
Does
We
it
don't
have to
usually
do
write it,
with like
so-
spin restriction?
We don't usually write it. That's why I never used it.
Yeah.
Any ideas?
Does it have to do with like spin restriction versus like non-collinear spin or anything like that?
It's dynamics.
So it is not the optimal geometry. Geometry is very distorted, and
Yeah.
it's only one snapshot, so it doesn't give you a representative picture of the electronic structure. And
Yeah.
one snapshot is not sufficient to get non-adiabatic coupling because you need a lot of points, a lot of snapshots.
And again,
Right.
read the manual where they talk about adiabatic, just regular molecular adiabatic dynamics.
Yeah.
They have a recommendation there not to use the wave cars for the electronic structure. If like you run your dynamics, then they recommend to restart, like you have your like snapshots or coordinates, restart, recalculate if you need the electronic structure, these specific snapshots.
Okay.
Don't use these wave cars because they are kind of projected to the new, so to speed up the calculations, the wave card which is created at the last moment
Yeah.
is actually having, it's not the real wave car corresponding to the electronic structure of this moment of time.
Okay.
They kind of project it, they kind of guessing it as a next step due to the motion of nuclei. So it's actually not very accurate wave car, in other words.
Okay.
And it's done for purpose because this way, how they do it, it speed up the adiabatic dynamics,
Yeah.
but it will be not accurate for the electronic structure calculations.
Okay.
That's why if you need to get just wave functions for electronic structure with this specific geometry, right? You have to just do single point calculations with the saved coordinates from your previous step, right? You can probably restart your calculation again using this wave card if you want to, but you cannot use it directly and claim that this is your.
Okay. So this would be a different wave car than I would get on like the 1,000th iteration.
When you
of
do
the
non-adiabatic
for loop and that
dynamics, when you like, you will go to this non-adiabatic couplings calculations, right? Because there you also restart your VASP calculations, starting with these P
Yeah.
files, which has information on the coordinates, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, and your settings, your postcard actually is different comparing to this adiabatic dynamics. It's just regular electronic structure calculation postcard with a single loop,
Okay.
right? Without really motion of nuclei.
Yeah. Yeah, because I definitely do single point calculations later.
Right.
Yeah, I'll ask you, I guess, something when I get to that point
Yeah.
because.
But again, the practical point, if you run in adiabatic dynamics, it's a good idea to probably run it for shorter time, because if you run it for thousands and then you break out, you never really create this wavecard. Maybe that's why you're not using. Because if you run it for the whole period of time, and usually you don't have enough wall time to finish it, right? So then, if it's interrupted, then you never really create your wavecard. So probably it makes sense to run it for whatever some reasonable time, like as much you can do for this specific wall time you are running for your regular calculations. Create your wavecard and then restart. Let's say you're doing 200 femtosecond, then you restart from your 200, going from 201 to whatever next 400 something. Restart it with this wavecard. Then it helps you to speed up the molecular dynamics calculations.
Okay.
But for non-adiabatic couplings, this wavecard are not very much useful at all.
Okay. Cool. So, okay, so once you've made your duplicate directory and you've copied everything into it, you need to edit the postcard because some of the scripts are not written for this version of VASP. So the only thing that you need to do is just get rid of this line because all this information is already stored here, so it's just kind of redundant anyway, I guess.
Again, return back. You use this postcard from your adiabatic dynamics calculations, right?
Yes.
So this is exactly the format which you were using for adiabatic calculation, molecular dynamics calculations.
Yes, this would be this same
Yeah.
postcard as up here.
And again, you have to change it because now you're really not running for your kind of go in. We call it step 2. When you're really calculating non-adiabatic couplings, you restart your Gaussian, you restart your VASP, but now you're not doing dynamics anymore. You run regular electronic structure calculations. Means you just optimize self-consistently with this specific nuclear position. You self-consistently optimize the electronic wave function, and that's why you need to modify your postcard a little bit because the formats are slightly different.
Okay. Yeah, because
No.
As far as I know,
it is
this
needed
is
because
this
code
script
for
is not written for this version of VASP.
convert, yes.
So this script is expecting this line to not exist. And so if this line is here, you just get a bunch of blank
Then why
output.
is it here?
It is a fact of the VASP 4 and 5 only. 5 they have one extra line in postcard format.
But then why is it running for dynamics?
But this script is written for VASP 4. So it's not about
But
calculation, it's
why you
about
have
the
this line in your postcard for the dynamics, and it's not a problem when you run dynamics with this line in a postcard?
There is no problems at all.
Yeah, they're-
So,
Yeah, VASP expects that line.
We do use.
Then why you need to
Wait.
delete it?
Let me talk.
For this thing.
We do use latest version of VASP, number 5,
Yes.
which has different format of saving files. But in our repository, we do have a very good script that was written for the version number 4 that no one wants to change and update. And in order to apply the script to results coming out of version 5,
Are we doing
one
the
needs to remove one line.
Actually, I create the postcard differently, so I just
So you make your own
in
way.
Thunder we have only VASP 5, so we don't have that issue. for
Okay.
4 and 5.
Ah,
We have all same format.
okay, whatever.
Yeah. So, okay, so when you try to run this script, if you just get a bunch of blank lines as output, it probably means that you didn't edit your postcard, so just go back, do that, and try to rerun the script. If you get all this going on as output, then that probably means it worked. Probably still a good idea to just look at one and make sure that you do actually have all the information that you need. Okay, so after you've done that, so for me, all my molecular dynamics jobs took more than one run. So I had to break these into multiple directories, and the script that I found was not working for me. It would only work in certain cases, I guess. So what you can do is in your second directory, after you've done all the same steps that I just talked about, you're going to get a bunch of, like
This is
P00 to...
output? What file is it you're showing?
This is a script that I wrote.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
But the files, the files
These-
is PXXX.
Yeah, these are the PXXX files.
But how you
So,
create your PXX and so on? Where
With
did you
this
get
script.
your PXX? Huh?
you run this script, and this will give
Well,
you
well.
the PXXX.
What is your input for this script?
There isn't one.
Huh?
You don't need to give it.
Wait. This is wrong. This script doesn't need explicit input in the command line, but it
Right.
reads some
But it
files.
reads the files from.
Oh, yeah.
So which files? Which files?
Which files?
I thought you meant like what.
No.
sort of-
Which
what
files
you need.
does the script read?
What do you need to run? Like, let's say if I have an empty directory and run this script, what does it tell me? And
Probably
arrow.
just complain and say, you
Yeah,
don't have
we'll
what you need.
we'll stop and
How-
say
how
something like,
you would
can it
complain?
read the file and gives you the name of the file?
I would imagine outcar and maybe another one.
Outcar and postcar.
Okay, yeah.
That's why you have to edit the postcard.
As an
'cause it
outcar
uses
or
that
Oh,
Oh,
template.
right, yeah, true that.
Because XZ card is easy. XZ card has all the postcard formula.
See,
Which file you
it is
use?
named outcar to postcar.
No, I'm saying if we do that, XZ card is the wrong thing. We would-
No. There is a redundant information. It is repeated in both outcar and xdatcar. They have repeated information.
Outcar has
Yeah,
everything.
so-
Xdatcar has only
But since we need
coordinates.
only a coordinate for this one, then we can just take it from XZ card.
Yeah.
That's a pretty simple in that
Yes.
case, taking from the out card.
So
But
you're
you-
going
you-
to
you-
tell how you do this procedure in your talk number 7.
Not yet, I didn't-
You're number 7. Okay, we will.
I have
wait.
just a couple of lines Python code and it will get everything from the
Good.
XZ
Very
card. We
nice.
can do that too. That
Okay.
will make more easier.
Okay, it looks like we have two alternatives right now. You can get the same, like first of all, you need input files, right? And this
Yeah,
is
yeah, you got
postcard
files.
and outcar, or in as alternative, instead of outcar, you can use x.car. Because outcar has everything.
Right.
Energies,
Yeah,
even,
Yeah,
even
just
positions,
literally
everything, right?
Yeah.
But x.car has only positions. So to creating your, like the goal of using this file is to create this p dot
Yeah, the P.
files,
whatever.
which will be used for nonadiabatic calculations,
Right.
right? And you either, like you have a script which working with huge big outcar file, Jabber has own script which is working with x.car,
XZ card.
which has the same information but just only on coordinates, right?
Yeah.
So two alternatives, both might work, but the script which you are using probably works only with outcars.
Yeah, no,
if,
you
Yeah.
should
if
be
you
able to-
if you use
Nothing
this
rude with that one
this
ran on
script
next
for
card.
kind of and don't have outcar, it also will give you the arrow, right?
So what is inside this P001, P002 files? What is inside these files?
So they generate.
It's answer to question of Daniel, or question Daniel is interested in.
It's the exact same format as a postcard file.
But physical meaning, what exactly is saved in these
The
files?
positions of your nuclei.
Positions at each
Time step.
moment of time.
So the
yeah.
index at in the name of the file is a time step.
Right, yeah. So this is before you've done any ionic steps. This is the first ionic step, second ionic step, and so on.
And why? Let's say why not to have
Makes sense.
why not to have p dot like you have xxx? I think in your case probably 4x, right?
No, real file
this
is 4. P is 3.
It's 3, okay. So why not, like if it's just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, why not having 1, 2, 3, 4, why you need 3 decimal, kind of, why you put in zeros, right? Like at the moment 0 you have all 3 zeros, right?
I'm not putting zeros. The
You
script
don't?
does that.
Well, I understand you, so you don't do it by hand, that's why you actually write the script.
They're padded for whatever reason.
But do you know the reason?
I
Like
don't know
why
the
to
reason.
worry about it? Any ideas? Why we have this special format for naming 000, 001,
For make it easy
002?
to process in the next one because the script, Python,
not
all other
easier.
languages started numbering started with the 0.
Any ideas? Anyone working with Fortran, writing codes on Fortran?
Yeah, Fortran is started with 0.
Fortran is actually very, very picky about the text variables. And when you read these files, because the next step is written in a Fortran for the nonadiabatic couplings, and when it's read these files, it's actually is very, very picky about this, how say, number of decimal place digits
Yeah.
in a text format.
So it reads it as a text file and then converts into numerical format.
Right,
But
it's expecting
if you
that
have
padding
different
to be
lengths,
there.
it
Yeah.
will go.
However,
strange.
if instead of like you use probably the same scripts, right, as we use for running Nonadiabatic couplings. But if you write your own scripts, let's say not on a Fortran, but on some more advanced and more modern language, then you probably can completely redo this,
Well,
this
right,
naming
yeah,
and
'cause
don't
this-
worry about this 000
Yeah.
and so
You
on.
shouldn't explicitly need this for any real reason other than something requires it at some point down the line. I mean, yeah. Anyway.
But it's doing for you, so good. Now you know why it's doing it in this specific format.
Yeah. So, okay, so if you need to run molecular dynamics in more than one directory, you're going to, I guess I didn't show it here, that, yeah, it would have taken way too much space. In your second run of molecular dynamics, you're going to get P00, P001, P002, all that again, so you're going to need to shift all those, essentially. So what I did is I wrote this script, rename PXX, so that all you need to do is just give it the first input that should appear in your new directory, and it will rewrite all of the P whatever files for you. So if that script fails, like it did in this case, usually, so basically what this did is it rewrote P000 to the first index and then it quit. The issue is usually that you have some other file that's not one of the PXXX files in your directory. So just get rid of all those, try to just get new healthy P whatever files, and then rerun the script.
I don't get you. What is mean healthy P?
What's that?
What do you mean by healthy P?
Just a second.
LDP.
Am I right? Like,
I mean, you said
you
two
break,
vendors.
like, to run your, like, you have, let's suppose you have 1,000 P, right? Named from 0 to 1,000.
Yep.
And you saying that, of course, you cannot, and at each moment, for each P, you have to run VASP. So you have to run VASP 1,000 times when
Yeah.
you calculate, no, but actually twice more, because you, around 1,000 times. Along the
Yeah,
dynamics.
plus 1. Yeah.
Plus 1, yes, not twice, just plus 1.
Actually,
So,
plus 2.
plus two.
Heating, molecular dynamics, and then 1,000
Oh,
times.
No, no,
yeah.
I mean, just for this
Okay,
case.
0 to 999.
Yeah.
But you're saying that you cannot, of course, just run it as a single job and do it 1,000 times of VASP calculations, right? So you have to break it into the pieces.
Mhm.
And let's say you put it like from 0 to 50, from 51 to whatever, 100,
Yeah.
101, 150, and so on, right? This is kind of the goal. And then you rename your, like in each, like you're creating these directories for snapshot, how say, for regions, right? Or time intervals. And then if each this directory, you rename your P files so they will go from 0 to 50. So before you had from 0 to 1,000, now you have how many? 200 directories with 50 guys.
Yeah.
And now your P is going from 0 to 50 in each directory.
Right.
This is what your script is
That,
doing?
well,
Not
so
really.
that's the original problem. What the script does is takes, okay, so your first MD run has 0 to 50, right? Your second MD run will have 51 to 100. So what the script will do is it will, okay, sorry. So after running this script, you're gonna have, what, like 20 directories that all have P000 through P50. So you need to go 0 to 50, 51 to 100.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. So you
Yeah.
run molecular dynamics in different directories.
Yeah.
So that's why
Yeah,
you
'cause
run
otherwise you
in
don't
each
write out your
directory. You
files.
run your script for creating this P. So now you have numbering of P in each directory is the same. But now you want to really make it from 0 to 1,000 rather than 200 times from 0 to 50.
Yeah, because if you have everything in the same directory, you're gonna end
Okay,
up overwriting
good.
everything,
Okay,
and it's
yeah.
just dangerous.
Is it clear or not? Why he needs it?
Actually, I was texting. Sorry.
Does it calculate
So it-
overlaps of weight cars? So if your indices are mismatched, so you would be like overlapping your first step with your 100th step possibly. So
Because
That's why-
initially you don't have any web card, it's guessing the web card, so that web card may be not 100%.
yeah, it doesn't know there's a previous run.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, the script is always just going to give you 0 to however many steps.
So if you overlap 5 step, you can assume that after 5 step is correct.
Yeah.
If it fails again, let me know so I can
Yes.
debug the script.
I have not been able to break it other than doing stuff like this. Or I guess if you have this situation and you removed explicitly this file, it would probably also break because you have this weird jump right there. That's why I recommend just rerunning the outcard postcard because it takes like 5 seconds. So yeah, just let me know if this doesn't work for you, if you ever need to use it. I'd be happy to debug it. Well, not happy, but I wouldn't mind.
Tolerant.
Okay, so after you have all of your PXXX files, you need to make a coupling directory. So what you want to do is copy the in-car, pot-car, and K-points from your geometry optimization. Edit your in-car so that you only do a single point calculation, otherwise you're never going to finish, and actually that would mess with your data as well. So after you've done that, you're going to need the scripts in this same directory. So these are all in the bin. You're going to need overlap.exe for sure. You're going to need whichever B script is relevant to what you're trying to do. So standard would be for spin restricted, NCL would be for non-collinear. I think there's like one or two other ones in there. And then you're going to need a script that will actually like request your processor hours. So you need to make in-car and a energy pop, or sorry, input overlap and energy pop for the overlap script. Those are just the same as they usually are.
So is it designed for Edison only?
What's that?
Is it designed only for Edison? Because you said requesting processor or something like that.
Oh, there's
There's
the same thing except Corey regular coupling, and you can just make one of these on your own if you want to from a different one.
What does it do actually?
So okay, so actually, this isn't super clear on here, I guess. This is the Edison regular coupling one. This is the B script file. So what this will do is you tell the computer cluster, you know, what kind of job you're doing, all that, and then instead of just running VASP, you call this script, and this script is what actually runs VASP. So I guess the important things to, oh, one thing that I forgot to mention, actually. I'm not sure exactly why, but this script only works for me on Edison. It does not work on Corey for whatever reason. I don't know why that is,
Did you
I guess.
use the power module? That's why.
Okay, so on these files, the things that you're going to need to edit are all in the boxes, which got really mangled on the paper print-offs, I guess. So just let me know and I can email you a copy of this thing if you wanted to look at it. So in your Edison regular coupling or Corey regular coupling, you're going to request however many nodes. So right here and right here in the orange boxes, I believe, you need to make sure that those line up with however many nodes you're requesting, and I just put those right there for quick and easy reference. So right here, you just need to tell it what the first PXXX file is that you're going to manipulate, or run VASP on, I guess. And then up in here, you just need to make sure that you have the appropriate looping conditions. So if this is 0, just set this to 1. If this is like 57, set this to 58. And then just make sure that it will actually end at the appropriate time, depending on how many PXXX files you have. And I guess in this little line right here, just make sure that this is actually the file that you copied, and you know you're modifying right here. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. So after you've done that, just copy all of the PXXX files into your coupling directory, and then just run sbatch on your Edison regular coupling or Corey regular coupling, whatever it is that, whatever file it is that you have there. Just make sure that you run sbatch on that file. And that's it. Then you have coupling.
That's it?
Yeah.
Last slide? Okay, let's thank Landon. Okay, let's go one slide back. So please point your laser pointer on the near the orange box, overlap exe, lower, one line lower, here.
Yes.
So tell us more, just your vision, your interpretation, what this code does.
The overlap.exe?
Yes. Yes.
I guess it makes these OS strength files, so it actually does the computation of your couplings.
So what is the input and what is the output for this code? Even if it is not explicitly mentioned, but what it reads from file and what it writes into file.
It takes your electronic states from your wave car.
How many wave cars?
2 at a time. So like 0 and 1, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, the 2 adjacent time steps. At least I would think. And then it basically calculates this using...
So this overlap .exe implements this equation.
Yes.
For a given time step.
Right.
And your phi at time t is wave car,
Yes.
and your phi at t plus delta t is wave car new, or whatever.
Or, yeah.
Wave car and wave car old.
Yeah.
Okay. And which file can go to the equation?
Oh, yeah.
So this v sub I j.
Yep.
Where in which file this v is saved?
That would be... Let's see. Should be
The
in the
next line after
OS
this.
strength
And if you think longer,
for master equation.
if you think even longer,
Coupling.
yes. So it should be matrix, like with orbital indices skipped, like square matrix
Yeah.
from first to last orbital, or from first active to last active orbital. Okay.
Yep.
And then in your script there should be renaming of the coupling into
Yeah.
coupling with time index, right?
Right,
And
yeah,
the
so
coupling
it moves
coupling
it to whatever your
period.
added new decimal is.
Okay.
I was wondering why is moving coupling to coupling.
No, there is a red,
Yeah, it's
red
these
font which is
colors
not.
don't show up
Oh,
super well
okay.
in here.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it better?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you also don't need to add this one with the initial zeros, because the printf statement handles that for you, so, yeah.
More questions to Landon? Daniel? You are the target audience for this talk. It's your chance to ask.
I understood most of it, but the part,
Next week you repeat everything.
yeah, the only thing that got a little overwhelming was whenever you had all those P1000 files.
Yeah.
How many files did you have right there? Yeah.
Oh,
files
yeah,
right there.
when it's all said and done, you should have, well, for me anyway, I'm doing 1,000 steps, so yeah, you got like 0 to 999. So it's just a lot, and then this script actually makes a file for every intermittent step, I guess, for an OS strength, for master equation, for coupling. So after you run it, this directory gets massive. Because you have like 4 files for every one of these steps now.
Jagat, you wanted to ask something?
What is the webcar world you just mentioned? Where did you get from?
The wave car?
Webcar world.
Oh.
I saw it now. Webcar and webcar world.
So, okay, so you basically just run VASP on the first PXXX file that you have, and then when you go through in the loop, you basically just add 1 to that. You move that old wavecar to wavecar old, and then you're going to rerun VASP, except at the next ionic step, I guess, using the next postcard. So then after you do that, you're going to have wavecar again, and then when you repeat this loop, you're going to end up replacing that with wavecar old. So you keep rerunning VASP over and over and over again, so you get new wave cards every time.
Okay, if I ask what is the necessity of doing the webcar world from the previous step?
The first one here?
I mean, why are you using one webcar from the previous step?
Oh, because that has
No, previous means the previous time step in the loop.
yeah. So the wavecar old would have this information in it, and then wavecar has this information.
More questions? If not, let's thank Landon once again.
Oh, just a quick one. How do you know how many I's and J's you have for your couplings?
You specify that.
In which file?
Input overlap,
Okay.
and your energy pop, I guess, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are, they range from there to there.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing on this. Okay. Thanks, Landon, for one more time. Now, one person will appear at the stage twice. So it is Aaron Fordy, who will first give brief introduction on the correlation functions, and then he will have a break, and then he will tell about electron dynamics.
So usually go through these presentations, we usually jump from making couplings to RRR files, but there's usually one more step in between, and that's making correlation functions.
There is slide advancer.
Oh, right here.
Okay. escape.
Oh, okay, so just very brief technical details. So I didn't know what a correlation function was until like a year ago, so I assume like a lot of undergraduates might not know. So basically it's just a measure of how similar a quantity is in space and time over different time periods. So like if you have one function at time t and you have another function at t plus like a dt, and it just measures like how similar they are at different times. And they don't have to be different. These can be like f and f, and that would be an autocorrelation function. That's usually what we do. And so the big deal is we use autocorrelation functions because rates of electronic transitions you can use those to, or you can use correlation functions to determine rates. So this guy's a rate, and then this guy here is a fancy way for autocorrelation. Essentially, like if you go through a textbook and read it, all this contains like information from Fermi's golden rule. So it's just another way to write Fermi's golden rule. So that's why we have.
What's the difference between correlation and autocorrelation?
Autocorrelation is how it measures its similarity with itself in time or space, and a correlation function necessarily doesn't have to be with itself. It can be with another function.
So if we change it to G here, it will be autocorrelation.
Yes.
And would you agree or disagree that there should be some exponential this time?
I won't disagree. Okay. So yeah. So and then this is just a nice way to visualize what an autocorrelation function does. So this first plot is just a plot of an autocorrelation of a wave pulse. So how do I?
Oh,
it's still on the marker.
To draw?
Yeah, it's still on the marker.
Okay.
There we go. So this is the plot of an autocorrelation function, and then let it go a little bit. So these are two wave pulses. So at t0 they're on top of each other. So you start out initially at 1, and as you go through time, the wave pulses go out of phase. So you get negative correlations because you're multiplying a positive and a negative number. So you get a negative number. Go through again. They come back into phase a little bit. So you get a positive number again. They go back out of phase. Then after some time, they don't know each other anymore. Then if you plotted those...
So your autocorrelation is, correlation is red times blue and integrate over the whole space.
So yeah, you basically just add it up at each time step.
Okay.
And then keep going. Then yeah. So if you plotted the values of the integrals at each point, it would do something like this. So this is in phase, out of phase, somewhat back in phase, and then this, they have no idea they're next to each other anymore.
Nice.
So to make autocorrelation functions from the wave cards that we use, so the MATLAB code is pretty standard. It hasn't changed at all since I've been here. Correlation V3H, and you have to give it coupling, or all the coupling files that you generated. And then you just need energy pop, and you may need overlap, you may not, I can't remember, but I just usually put it in there anyway, because you need it eventually. So you feed it in these files, and it outputs some correlation functions of orbitals with each other, and basically takes all those correlation functions and converts it into an RRR. And to run the code, it's pretty robust. Basically all you have to input is some specifics about about the orbitals that you're using. So you enter your HOMO, max and min from your input overlap, and sometimes you just have to change like these loops just to load in the coupling files, depending on how many you have. So if you have 1,000, there's another loop below this that goes up to 1,000. And if you have less than 1,000, you just have to tell it which number, or else it'll yell at you. And so if you run the script and it runs pretty healthy, this is a pretty typical figure. So it starts out at 1, decays very quickly, and then kind of oscillates. And then each of these colors are one of those core underscore HOMO files. So these are just correlations of autocorrelation of orbitals. Ones near the gap anyway, which are usually the important ones we look at. And that should be it.
So can you go back to the first slide? Let's thank Aaron just in case. remember presentations, well, some of us made presentations, remember presentations by Levi on dephasing, especially Javid should remember it. Their autocorrelation functions were decaying much slower. So what's were the dephasing autocorrelation functions presented by Levi and autocorrelation functions presented by Aaron applied to the same type of functions or to different characteristics?
So I've always assumed that dephasing was between different pairs of orbitals. So
Yes.
I don't know, for Redfield tensors anyways, they have I, J, K, L. So dephasing would be like the time that I and J are dissimilar from
So
K and L.
which function, autocorrelation of which function are you showing here?
So you say the black one is like homo and homo minus one.
Autocorrelation of nonadiabatic coupling.
Yes.
Your couplings file.
Yes.
Okay, and Levi and several other people, dephasing were applied to energy of orbital. So not the coupling, not the transition, but just energy of orbital, how it slowly changes in time.
Mm-hmm.
And autocorrelation between orbitals, and correlation between couplings behave on very different time scales.
Okay.
For orbitals, it lives for like 10, 20, maybe 50 femtoseconds. For couplings, so the main feature in this figure is that everything drops rapidly within 1 or 2 femtoseconds. So there is no correlation. The couplings, as Aaron defined, do not know about each other after a couple of femtoseconds. So system has no memory.
So I'm just wondering isn't it better to look on the fast Fourier frequency rather than looking on the autocorrelation functions?
Well,
It will be white noise.
Then, but you can see the frequency, how is the overlapping, is the same frequency or different frequency. But in this case, what is the quantitative result from these autocorrelation functions?
well, mostly this quantity here is what we're interested in. 'Cause there's
How can you interpret this, what's it called, vibration, or this quantitatively?
So you can see initially at some time it decays really quickly, and then over time they kind of come back into phase with each other. But if you run this long enough or you get good enough statistics, over time they should average out to 0. So like this is just like view it as statistical noise.
The reason for these oscillations is accumulation of electronic phase, and electronic phase accumulates really quickly on like attoseconds. So if one would redo this figure on the fraction of femtosecond, like doing it from 0 to 1 femtosecond with step of 1,000 steps, one would see continuous function with slow decay and maybe analyze it somehow. But this ultra short time ranges are not yet in our focus for practical applications. If one would model the free electron X-ray laser for sub-femtosecond processes, one would do modeling on the really short time steps.
But if we take FFT of this autocorrelation function, FFT, I mean fast Fourier transform of these autocorrelation functions, which one would be more convenient to read this information? This one or of FFT?
Well, which information?
I mean, for us looking on how many different frequencies involved on these things.
Unless you can visualize Fourier transforms in your head. Like you probably couldn't do it from this, but I mean you can.
In order to do Fourier transform, you need to shorten the time step 100 to 1,000 times. At this resolution, it is almost like a noise.
Okay.
So the only importance is the absolute value of couplings when they are laboring in time.
Any other questions?
More questions to Aaron? If not, let's thank him once again. And according to the schedule, we have presenter number 4, Dr. Fatima. So she will tell the practical steps, how to, she will focus on more details on how to convert this set of coupling files into the matrix of rates which will be used to propagate electronic state. Is there a slide advancer with laser? Okay, good.
So I'm going to talk about how to convert non-adiabatic coupling files to ordered field tensor. This is the theoretical method. On-the-fly non-adiabatic couplings are computed using this equation. Here we can see 2 K points, 2 different set of K points, but the rest of the equations I used only 1 K point because for red field tensor calculations I used the code for momentum constant system. So here in this case K equals uppercase K equals lowercase K. And the second equation, this one is autocorrelation function, and the Fourier transform of this autocorrelation function is the transition rate, and these transition rates are the components for calculating red field tensors. So in order to calculate red field tensor, we need all the coupling files, a couple of 100 files. So, and energy pop file, and the energy pop file should contains energies of states, which energies of states that are we interested to calculate. Energies of states, those are used to calculate for coupling files. Actually, import order file. Suppose if I have 700 states, 150 states, and if I am interested to suppose 30 states lower the HOMO and 30 states above the HOMO, 30 states below the HOMO and 30 states above the LOMO. So those states, this energy file should contain the energies of those interested states. And another file we need, that correlation MATLAB code. Here is the code. So we need to modify a couple of values here, the HOMO, the state number of HOMO, and a minimum state, maximum state, and number of coupling files. Here we can see 3 for loops. This one for just 1 digit, this one for 2 digits, and this one for 3 digits. Since I had 700 something files. And then you need to put all these files to a MATLAB directory in your local computer, and then run the correlation code. Then you should get this RR file and this PDF file. And you can modify this code for plotting the red field tensor.
Okay, let's thank Fatima. Daniel, this question.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand what I see whenever I see those types of diagrams. What is telling us exactly?
Here we can see the states, 10 states below HOMO and 10 states above or LOMO. We can see the probability of population transfer. Okay, so suppose for I indices we have suppose 60 orbitals, and for J 60 orbitals. So here we can see how the electron can transfer. We can see that electron can transfer to the adjacent state since the off diagonals are 0. Suppose for this bar, this is HOMO -4, I guess, and this is also HOMO -4. So they are the population transfer to the adjacent states.
So probably it's HOMO -5 to HOMO -4.
Yeah, they are ±1.
Yeah.
Not like from electron cannot transfer from like HOMO -5 to suppose HOMO -10.
Well, it can, but the rate of such is very low by several orders of magnitude.
Yeah, and this bar is the probability. How
So the
high
bigger
the
the bars,
probability is.
the faster it goes.
The probability is
Okay.
high.
More questions to Fatima? If not, let's thank her once again. And after a little break, we have the same person on stage. Thank you for volunteering twice. So right now, Landon and Daniel may establish practical questions. Suppose we do have this RRR file with rates of transitions, but we do need occupations of orbitals as function of time, and maybe average energy of electronic system to see how the energy dissipates in lattice vibrations, how charge transfer happens, like what to do with this RRR file, with this set of rates.
Yeah, so this is just getting results from our dynamics, so it doesn't go in depth how it exactly computes the rates for all these, but it's just showing where the relevant parameters are that you need to change to generate the figures to analyze later. So the needed files that you need is, so there are a lot of dynamic script names floating around, but this is usually the most reliable starting point to start with, is this one. And then usually if there are changes, there's additions after the 3. So depending on what you use.
So what does it mean HSP at the end?
I don't know, I've always thought about it, but nothing quick came to mind, so.
Maybe Yulun remembers.
Yeah, because previously she was a group member at USD. So I guess she modified this code.
So it's abbreviation of the name, Huang Shuping.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have seen that name.
Okay.
And then this must have been his 3rd attempt.
Probably.
So if you modify the script, just add your initials after.
If you discover an error, it'll be your name, named after you. So yeah, so this is the general script to use for dynamics, and then you just have to feed in a couple of files, so input overlap, energy pop like normal. So then the last 2 talks talked about how to make RRR, so we feed that into the dynamic script. And then for visualization, sometimes you want the band out. That would be for like standard VAST calculations, and then there's also been an update that Dimitri has been working on for spin orbit coupling band outs. And that's not in this script, that's a different one. So if you do need that at some time, you can contact one of us, we can take it out from somewhere.
Can you briefly, in like one sentence, summarize what is standard band out, and how does it relate to main interest of Landon, charge transfer?
So Bando basically just takes par charges, which are written as 3D in space, and it just compresses them into 2D. And usually,
Or maybe 1D.
or yes, it's 1D. So it projects them along X and Y, and then we can see along Z. So usually, whenever we make models, if we want to look at stuff like Landon is for charge transfer, you have your hole and acceptor and donator along Z. So it
And
works
Bando
with the
is just one file that summarizes all orbitals together.
Yes. So it reads in all the par charges corresponding to your energy pop or input overlap. And Bando, there's a Perl script somewhere in the bin. And then for these, there's a MATLAB code that you have to use to generate this.
So one of the band integrate scripts generate this band out.
Mm.
And if you want to inspect the transfer of charge carriers, you will need to create this file. You just skip it right now to be short and fit in time.
Yeah, so then you feed in these files, and then the outputs that you get if it runs healthy is energy relaxation, and for your average energy of your carriers, and then where they go in space as they relax, which is from the band outs, and then it also computes rates of relaxation from your initial conditions to the band edges. So when you first load up the script, this is what it looks like to begin with. So you have I, H, and IE. So those are just your initial conditions that you choose for your hole and your electron. And I forgot to mention in this, but 1 in both these cases is HOMO and LUMO. So if you wanted to do HOMO minus 20 to LUMO plus 20, it would be 20, 21, and 21. So whatever your LUMO plus Y is, you just add 1 to that for IH and IE. So, and then, well, in principle, you could just do a bunch of random numbers and put them in there, but just to save time, good numbers to do would be orbitals from your oscillator string, so most intense transitions or transitions that you're interested in looking in. So that depends on your system and just something you have to know as you're processing the data. And then some parameters that you have to change depending on the system, so Z steps and Z size. So Z size is from your postcard, so the size of the Z dimension. And then Z steps corresponds to your band out, so it's the number of like grid points along the Z axis, so your resolution basically. And you get that from band out, so whatever the size of that is. And just a couple other things you have to input to your HOMO, and then Omin and Omax from your energy pop file. And then a couple other parameters you can play with. So there's time steps, so that's basically your resolution and time, so how many like increments it does. So I don't know, I've never had to mess with it too much, but depending on how fine a data you want, you can increase this, but it just increases the runtime of your simulation. And you might get small variations in your rates just because, well, if you don't run as many steps, you're in coarse grain, so you might miss some transitions. So the higher that you increase time steps, probably the more accurate your results are going to be. So you can play with that until your rates are pretty consistent, and then optimize it that way. And then, so that's the number of grid points in time, and then you can also change the length of your dynamics in time. So generally, stuff we're interested in occurs on the nanosecond time scale, and that's what this is set up for at the moment. But if you wanted to increase, like say you wanted to go to millisecond for some crazy relaxation, so he would just increase this until, well, I put a halt in a strategic place and just keep increasing the number until it goes to where I want. But you can figure out other convenient ways to change this number too. So changing this box number increases the time of the simulation. And then those are really the only other 2 parameters worth messing with in the program. And then if it runs healthy, so this will pop out at the bottom, KE and KH are your rates of the electron relaxes to the band edge, which in this case should be NA. Like these don't correspond with each other. And then K hole would be the time it goes from here to here. So if you do have like 2 multi-relaxation steps, like it won't give you 1 for each. You have to do some extra legwork to be able to get those transitions. So you get rates, you get these pretty figures. So this is relaxation in energy space. And then this would be for band out from like a standard calculation. So blue is your hole. So you can see at the time the hole goes out, the electron stays down. So that indicates you have a charge transfer that occurs in your simulation. So that should be it.
Okay, but thank you. Any questions? Can you go to the last slide? If I would see it for the first time, I would be able to follow interpretation of the first green figure, where your y-axis is probably energy.
Yeah, so when you run these, there are labels on them, but I usually cut them off when I post-process them. So yeah, I would say this is energy, this is log time.
Okay, and for the second green figure, what is y-axis?
So this would be like your z size.
So it's Cartesian, it's z coordinate.
Yeah. So this looks like, I don't know, 15, so 30.
In angstrom?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically the z component of your postcard is what it should be. And then the x-axis is again log time.
And green means that electron and hole are approximately in the same space region, or they compensate each other. But if it splits onto blue and orange, it means there is some charge transfer.
Yes, that's what it indicates anyway. Usually you want to take like a VMD of your model, just kind of place it so it looks roughly the same, so you know for sure that it's charge transfer.
Okay. More, okay, David?
How did you calculate the relaxation rates?
So, well, that was one of the prefaces for this presentation. I wasn't going to talk about how the code does it, but basically it takes all the input orbitals and it produces like a superposition based on your initial condition, and then it does a time step, takes the RR file, computes relaxation from, like, if you're at LUMO plus 20, and they would calculate the rates of relaxation to all the orbitals below it,
Up to
or
frontier
possibly
orbital.
above it.
I mean, up to LUMO, frontier orbital.
Right, and then it just does that each time step. So it's a average relaxation rate. So at each time step, it doesn't compute a new rate. So it's the same rate throughout this whole simulation.
So you calculate relaxation in every time step, and then
Yeah, so you give an initial population, or do you want to say something?
Oh, no, complete your explanation and then I'll intervene.
So the way I understand is you tell your initial population. So you do a time step, tells the RRR tells it where to send the population, does that again. So then you have like maybe 3 bands that are populated a little bit, and then RRR tells population from those where to go. And then you just kind of get a steady, well, usually you get like a steady waterfall of population of your bands.
but that population is not maybe initial population is maybe 1, final one maybe 1, but intermediate is that 1, or is like
It's
fraction of
Fraction, because it is distributed between several
distributed
orbitals.
so the sum should be 1.
Yeah.
So if we repeat same activity next year, maybe waterfall picture would be helpful to understand what is going on.
Yeah, I thought to put it in, but I guess I just didn't. So
Just to keep addressing question of Jabet, what are the dashes and solid line, and how are they related to the rates of transfer or relaxation?
So those are energy expectation values for each. So dash just for electron, and then solid is energy expectation value for holes. And so based on those, you can calculate relaxation rates.
In that case, rate is changing with the time, right?
Yep, but you can feed it to different functions, starting from the simplest mono-exponential, but you can also try to select more complicated fitting function.
And we assume single exponential, well, for regular, like from this code.
But in this case, seems like your whole relaxation rate is not a single exponential.
Right, but basically what it calculates, it takes the time from here to here, it just takes the inverse of it. So you have this relaxation from here to here, but you don't have any information about the intermediate.
Then how about the electron relaxation rate? Because it seems like it stayed on the same energy over time.
Yeah, it doesn't. So the initial population was LUMO. That's what the initial condition was. So then it's already at LUMO.
So
so there's no relaxation.
Energy relaxation rate for electron is not reasonable in this example.
Right, because it's
1.63 seems like is
or maybe you started from LUMO plus 1, something like very close in energy.
I think this figure I was trying to do a waterfall for this image, so I didn't care about the electron. So this should be like if you're doing like a real calculation, like from an optical transition, like this would be up here. Relax now. This is not something we would publish.
More questions to Aaron? Daniel? Landon? Okay, let's thank Aaron once again. And we have 2 talks for the next 15 minutes. Number 6 is by Dr. Han, is about how to convert the outcome of electron dynamics into some observables related to experiment. So Aaron already told how to assess the rate of energy dissipation and how to visualize the dynamics of charge transfer. But there are also important processes of photoluminescence related to relaxation and energy. And right now we will hear quickly how can it be assessed.
Yeah, so to calculate the photoluminescence spectrum, we need 5 input files. So the RR, energy bulb, and also bandouts are the same as the one mentioned by Aaron. So I guess the special code is this code. And also we need this for master EQ. So this is just oscillator stress in matrix format. So here, how can we get the for master EQ? So basically we find this information from geometry optimized model, and then we can just run this code, and then we end up with for master EQ. This is how it looks like.
Excuse me. What is the dimension of this matrix? I mean, which dimension is what is?
I guess this is just
number of orbitals times number of orbitals. It's square matrix. But if you use not all orbitals but a window, active window, then it will be number of orbitals in active window square. Look, if you see symbols, the diagonal is 0 because there are no optical transitions from orbital to itself.
So this is just standard procedure. So we need to transfer these files to a local PC and just run the code. So I guess the code is basically the same as the one mentioned by Aaron. I guess there is some small fraction added. So I guess you do not need to modify it. The only input you need to modify is just the initial conditions. So if the code is running successfully, then you can get this kind of figure. So this is time resolved emission. So at each time step, we can see the emission. And this is time integrated emission. So it is taking the average of integration. And the final figure you can get is time resolved exciton picture. So for example, if you have the initial condition from LUMO minus x to LUMO plus x, from LUMO plus x to HOMO minus x, so as time goes by, finally you will have transition from LUMO to HOMO.
So the probability of excitation for excitation at given energy to exist at given time.
Right. So it's just an electron hole pair.
So 0 would be like the energy of your HOMO orbital.
No, this is the energy difference.
Oh, between the occupied.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is my final one.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
So I guess the color changes. What does that mean? So like I guess it starts off red, then it goes yellow, green, blue, 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 blue to back to yellow to red. What does that mean necessarily?
So blue means there is no emission, and red means the emission is very intense.
Okay.
So it relates to our discussion with geometry. Blue means 0, red means 1, and if it is in between, it will be rainbow colors. But if at the given time there is more than one electron hole pairs occupied, their probability is less than 1, and it is smeared between them. So their absolute value is less than 1, and therefore colors are like greenish or something exotic.
So, one thing, what is the lifetime of this thing? I mean, these calculations, it seems like it's too long, isn't it? It has started relaxing after 100 picosecond. And then went to the HOMO like 10,000 picosecond.
So,
I mean, is it real calculation or for example only?
This is the real case. I guess this is as long, very long lifetime because this is for the less than ions. This is for less than ions in sodium neutral fluoride.
Okay.
how does it correspond to experimental lifetimes? Is it shorter or longer or?
I cannot remember, but I guess we underestimate the lifetime.
So subgaps, it is very specific experimental system, dielectric with single ion, and there are very big subgaps, which take a long time to overcome. More questions to Yulun?
I have a question. So if we call this oscillation dipole oscillate, then we should get oscillator strength, right? And this Formaster equation also.
Yep. So question?
Like if we call this script oscillation dipole state, so we should get oscillation strength as well. Like if I suppose if I want to calculate this spectrum,
Yes.
then I can see there is a Formaster equation also.
Huh?
We can see there is a Formaster equation, Formaster equation file also. We can use that one for photoluminescence calculation.
Yes. So oscillator strengths and this Formaster equation contain the same information, but it is stored in different formats. If you allow, I will answer. So when you're looking onto oscillator strengths file, it writes data in
for the dynamics
form
That's
of
what it means. So it's that's why it's saying that.
like number, HOMO, LUMO, oscillator strengths, energy like 3 electron
Called like
volts.
master equations.
And then it continues data with only one oscillator strength in each line. But if you're looking in this for master optics, it is a square matrix, and the transition between HOMO and LUMO will be just one element, where all orbitals are indexed on the rows and columns. So main diagonal exists of zeros, and one of this sub-diagonal element would correspond to HOMO to LUMO transitions. So it's denser form to store information.
Okay, I have another question.
Please.
So for I believe Yulun doesn't know it.
Huh?
So I have a question for you. So for my model, I have 4 different K points. So I need to calculate that spectrum, UV spectrum for 4 different K points. So how to calculate photoluminescence? Then we need to modify the code.
If you believe if you assume that there is no indirect optical transitions, which could be right, then you still need the 4 master equation files for indirect transitions, but you can fill them with zeros. But still, it should be same format as your 5 times R. Like R for non-radiative, and I don't know how you would call it, 4 master equation.
4Q.
Yes, yes.
It's not about this one, but I mean, it's a question after listening your answer. So what is the means of optical indirect transition? Is it possible to indirect transition, optical transitions?
No, only if you design photons that have change of momentum.
Yeah, that's I'm just wondering. So that means they have no optical indirect transition, obviously, in a real system.
I haven't seen them. Maybe they exist.
No, I'm just asking. And so
it's good approximation to assume that there are no such transitions.
It is also true for real
on very short time, there could be virtual processes with that violate some conservation laws, but in overall,
yeah, no.
More questions to you? If not, thank you once again. And last but not least, presentation number 7, which keep. Can you put keep notation?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Keep. So Jabot will tell alternative and maybe better pathway to utilize coupling files. So first 2 talks by Daniel and Landon did provide universal methodology to compute coupling files. And then we went into master equation approach, which is way quicker, but not always more precise. What Jabot is going to present is different way to utilize these couplings and get potentially more precise information, but it will cost much longer for computing electron dynamics.
Before starting, thank all of you, because almost you covered all of my steps, so it will cover kind of repeating all of the steps.
Advancer?
Oh. So this is kind of methodology. What do I do? So I just took slide from Dr. Kleiner. So I guess we don't need to go through this one. Just one big thing is we need to calculate. We need to define this basis set based on the adiabatic trajectory in the ground state molecular dynamics. So in the in our methodology, we
first previous slide once again. Yes. So where are nonadiabatic couplings in your set of equations?
And this term is a J and K coupling between the J state and the next in the time step with the K time step, and is giving us this coupling.
So instead of placing time as a parameter of orbital, you just put operator of time derivative between them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can read out the T if we could substitute this equation here. So in our methodology, we divided this whole thing as a 3-step. So it would be very convenient to discuss about that in the first step, and a little bit slow one. And Daniel's discuss about this one. First, we need to get the optimal geometry, and I didn't show the Incar file because everyone already saw that one. And then we need to create a geometry at the room temperature, the higher temperature, like usually we do at 300 degree Kelvin. And then at the higher temperature, we can apply the molecular dynamics, and then we will get the trajectory at the certain time step, whatever you want. And important thing is when you're getting we are doing the adiabatic trajectory, we need to define the port. We need to keep the portium at a reasonable number. Is based on the system, what type of atom it is, and usually we do we get some idea from the IR spectra of the similar metals, then we can. And this protein is supposed to be smaller than the lifetime of oscillation of IR, or highest number of frequency. We need to get that one, and this period should be the smaller than that period. I mean the protein. And then, as Landon told that, we got the all geometry from the adiabatic trajectory from the step 1. And then in the step 1, I use the exact curve. I'm going to use the out curve. In exact curve is to me exact curve is easier because exact curve define the cell and then is define the all coordinate at the every time step. So I can just slice down at the time a certain line because it's have a uniform format, and then put it on the one file name as a postcard file, P file. So P file is nothing but it's just a postcard file for at that time, at that moment of the time step. And then we create the different directory. We usually say the P directory because if we create the 1000 or 2000 trajectory, it's not possible to run the whole things at the one time. So rather than running in one time step, we divided that by 50 or based on where I'm doing the calculations, like 50 or 100. And then, but one thing we already discussed on the answer questions on the Landon things, we need to overlap some step in between the in all step, because as you know, the initial wave car is not a very precise one. If we do that, then we can exclude the first 5 steps and then take the next one. It will give you the nice continuity. And then actually we do this time step by calling in our method, by calling one script. This is a Perl script. So this Perl script actually nothing but this Perl script call all other required script. This script doesn't do any calculation, it just calls the script. And I do all this calculation in the NERSC, and so not NERSC, here in Thunder. I had some problem to call the bus directly from the Perl script. So instead I run a bash script and then Perl called that bash script to run the bus. Landon already showed the cycle, so it's kind of almost similar cycle.
Javed?
Yeah.
Are you planning to explain numerical parameters?
Yeah, I'm going to this one here.
Because
so
it
this
looks
one,
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
yeah.
6 numerical.
So
parameters.
in this parameter, ON is calling the first is calling the for bus, running all calculations, and then take the single point calculations, create the web curve, and get the energy, all of them. And then these two parameters, first two parameters are actually number of bands from where to where. So we want to calculate a band of energy, not the whole of the band. So this indicating that the lowest band is 141 and highest band, highest LUMO band is 540. So the 200, 200, total 400. And thing is, and in this script, they have another script actually, the formatting energy.
The HOMO is 340?
Yeah, 340. And 341 is the LUMO orbital. And then it will call another bash script, this is just formatting the energy. So this, and then it's numbering the band starting from the 1. That means 141th band is first band in this file. So this energy file contains the energy of the 400 bands, 200 LUMO, 200 HOMO. So, and the first band is a 1 to 400. And then next thing is to calculate the oscillation strength. So we have a similar script, and then it calculate the oscillation strength at each moment of time from the web curve, and that web curve and the previous web curve old and web curve. One thing is defined is our calculation, you will see the web curve new. Actually it's calculated, it's copy the old web curve to the web curve old and present web curve as a web curve new, and then get the oscillation strength between web curve old and web curve new. because we did not move the web card, because this web card is going to be used maybe in the next calculation. It will increase the speed of the system. And then we also calculate the coupling, and the number naming of the thing is important, is the real with the number of time step, and this one is OS on the time step. And then after running this script in one orbital, okay, no, there are another thing is, so suppose like here, so it's getting the band from this number, so this first two argument is the number, and the next two is the script is running from this time step to this time step. So in my calculations, I get the period with the 50 time step, so this 50 on here. And these two things actually the number of processor per nodes, and this is the total number of processor per nodes. So I run this file, this example in the Thunder in our cluster. We have a 20 core in each node, and then I use the 2 nodes. Total is the total nodes. So if I use the different system, we need to change this number too. And this is important because it's because when it's run the bus, we need to ask a bus how many core it should use to calculate each band, because there are some memory issues and other issues, and there are optimal number too. So this number used for calculating the N core number and other things. So these are 6 argument here. So for if anybody going to use the VASP, in the Thunder, in these calculations we did not call the VASP directly from here. Rather than just one thing, remember, I just give all informations, physical PBS informations, and then put this script, and then all module loading and everything is listed on the another different script, and is called during the running this part script. So after the step 2, we will get a real file. That's real file means it's coupling. We will get an OS file. That OS file is for oscillation strength, and we will get energy file. This energy file is running the energy of the 400 bands of these 50 steps is written in this energy file. So one thing is, after the completion of the step 2, we will get a number of bands, number of directory, like 10. Suppose like if we get a 10p directory, we will get a 10 energy file, and that 10 energy file, and I also told you that we have some overlapping between the 5 steps. So that means after the step 2, we need to create a complete energy file, which will have all energy band, and we need to exclude the first 5 lines. 5 line means for energy from the 5 time step, and then need to run and get this remaining 45 time step. It should concatenate in the new file and get a big energy file. So all of these streaming things actually we call as a pre-step 3. That means just processing all data to getting ready for step 3. And this manual actually solely written for using myself, so maybe you will get a lot of grammatical or other errors. It just I read this one just to understand myself. I put it here. So what I'm doing, just copy the all real file from the all directories and OS file, and I have a own Python script to copy this from go to each directory and copy this file. But during this copy, we need to keep in mind we are excluding the first 5 OS file, first 5 real file, and first 5 energy lines. And then to run the step 3, we need the 2 input file. That input file, suppose like I should give you the example. Give an example of this. What is the file it is actually? So, but this from st to _st is just a one name, because we don't need to. We need to keep this name, because following is skip to read the file according to this name. So here it will give information about how many band we are going to calculate, and what's the initial, and what's the final band, and what's the HOMO, and what's the LUMO, these kind of things. And another file, this input file, this also contain the all parameter. This parameter is contain like what type of transition we are going to consider. Suppose like transition is a symmetric transition. Symmetric means the HOMO energy, electron energy and hole energy either equal or close to the equal. Then we consider those transition is like symmetric transitions or asymmetric transitions. And then it also contained information about what would be the threshold value to calculate the symmetry or to calculate the transition energy, because it's very unusual. Yeah, it's very hard to get the information from. Yeah.
Can I give a just brief comment when determining the question? So, in previous approach, the initial condition for electron dynamics was determined by the parameters IE and IH for initial orbitals of electron and hole, once and forever. In the approach that Jebet is explaining, there are steps to take into account the average over several possible initial conditions. So there is a subsequent run of the electron dynamics with different initial conditions approximately giving the same excitation energy, and then adding them together and looking for ensemble average. So it is what Jebet was explaining.
Was that why the first 5 steps are skipped in like all of your calculations? I guess I can't remember why you don't want to include the first 5 steps.
The thing of his pre-step 3.
Yeah. In
Redfield approach, there is no pre-step 3. You just set up initial electron and initial hole.
Mm.
In this surface hopping approach, you do create set of initial conditions over which you later perform an average. And the image that Jebet is drawing will be explanation of how this distribution ensemble of initial conditions is created. So please keep going.
Yeah, so this one is kind of like, suppose like in your system there are a lot of different types of transition, but you cannot, you will get that as information from oscillation and strength. But for this calculation, you don't need to consider the all transition. There are some dark transitions, some bright transition, and also they have energy also on big effects. So before in our system, first we try to focus on some energy, energy range. We will focus on those transition only. Suppose like in these calculations, in these things, if you get this example, this exciting from the close to the frontal orbital to the very high energy too. But in this type of transition is from the deep hole to the close to the frontal orbital. So this, what type of transition is happening is also system dependent. What's the band density and all other parameters here. So to differentiate the different nature of the transition, we can explicitly define the initial conditions, which transition we are considering for the step 3. So all this information will be in this file. Suppose like as I said, suppose for example this is the asymmetric hole, or hot hole transitions. This type of transition we use to say hot, this one is a hot electron, this one is a hot hole, because this hole energy is higher than electron energy. And this one is almost symmetric transitions, because hole and electron transition are almost similar, as same as this one. But this one is close in the low energy, close to the here, but this exciton energy is higher than this one. So there are a bunch of different types of transition, and we will define these all parameter on this file.
So all these transitions are included in the initial conditions?
Not all.
It depends how,
It
how you
depends,
define.
yeah.
You can just choose with respect to the energy,
Mm.
and then all of them will energy and oscillator strengths, of course, right? But then you don't differentiate between which symmetric, asymmetric, hot hole, hot electron are involved. Or you can really kind of include only this or
Your
that.
call
or
will be
that.
disconnected.
So kind of it gives you additional constraint to put into your initial
Yeah.
conditions.
So you can
Sorry, what is it that makes it a hot electron or a hot hole?
sorry,
What?
what?
Like, what is it that makes something like a hot electron or a hot hole? Like, what is it?
Definition?
This, this means suppose like if electron is exciting from here to here, so it's leaving a positive charge here, right?
Yeah.
I mean C2 positive particle is not a particle, but it's a
Well, yeah,
C2 particle,
treat it
and
like
then
Hole has smallest energy, electron has the highest energy.
so
Right? That's what
Wait,
we call
say
hot
that again?
electron. Hot electron, when you excite electron at higher energy states,
Okay. So, like, from near the HOMO? Or.
so if this whole energy, like what does it initially do? If this excited electron, then it relaxes to the front
probably
orbital.
it's easy to explain. Start with a symmetric case.
Okay,
And
suppose like
define like what we define energy of electron, energy of hole, right?
okay, suppose like here, this is the whole energy, and this energy is
So you're talking about the gap between the two levels?
Yeah,
Your
two
energy
levels.
that you're talking about?
It's not an actual gap, it's just a difference in electronic levels in the valence band for holes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but it's the
Where
difference
you
between
excite
the
to the
energies.
HOMA,
Yeah.
right? And then the same you can define from luma to where you excite your electron.
Okay, so it is just basically the distance between HOMO and wherever it started, and then LUMO and wherever
Exactly.
it ended.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
And
big.
then you can imagine, you can make it really completely symmetric, like your energy of both of carriers would be exactly the same.
Yeah.
With whatever 3 electron volts or whatever your energy is defined, or you can really have your hole being already in an age of the valence band, almost no energy. Doesn't have really too much freedom to relax. It's already there, right?
Yeah.
But your electron is still very high, so it has a lot of possibilities to return back to the low state during relaxation. Or backward, you can put electron very close to luma, and hole can be really far away. And this is what we call hot electron, hot hole.
Yeah, we are saying this energy is for electron energy because what's happening here? If after excitation, this electron will come here and hole is come here, and then there will be recombination, be radiative or non-radiative. So that means these electrons can travel this much energy only. So that's why we think that this is a base energy for electrons. So you can say this is the electron energy and this is the whole energy.
Okay.
Make sense?
And it depends on the system, right?
Yeah.
When you can, like, why we use it, because you can really use this as a tool to identify the properties, because they're based on the symmetry, well, of course, on the symmetry of your lattice, if you're talking about solids, and it's also on the symmetry of your, or kind of symmetry of the wave functions, right? And density of states for these transitions. So it depends on the system, and in one cases you can see, or depends on the energy where you excite. In one cases you can clearly hot hole or hot electrons.
Okay.
In some cases it's completely a mixture, and then of course you don't need to differentiate between them.
Okay. So in that far left arrow that you have pointing up there, that would be a hot electron or a hot hole. The
this
far
one?
left.
Left. Oh, sorry, left.
Hot electron.
I would say this is a hot electron.
Okay.
Because the electron energy is higher than.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm like interpreting this correctly. I guess.
It's kind of like, I mean, it's not a conventional term, but our term, I mean, it's not a super conventional term. It's
Yeah.
established conventional.
Well, right. Yeah. I just want to make sure.
But
that
this is a
I'm
common
understanding
term in this kind of
this big
discussion, like
dude.
using the hot hole and hot
But
electrons.
this picture is also very convenient when people talk about carrier multiplication, right? Like kind of going through the
multiple exciton
Auger
generation?
process.
Okay.
Yeah. So it goes through the mechanism through the Auger processes.
Yeah.
So it means like if you have a hot electron, and suppose your energy is at least 2 band gaps.
Yeah. Then it can
So
relax.
you can lose,
still in the
you can
conduction
lose this
band.
energy of electron,
Yeah.
right? Which can be given to the electron from another electron
Yeah.
from the edge of the valence band, which will push this electron to the luma, and now you have 2 carriers instead of 1, right? So again, this is easy, or maybe can't say.
Yeah, in this case it's easy because
easy to use and differentiate between different types of excitations.
Like if you have a photon which energy is twice as a band gap, so by using that photon you can excite from here, or from the front orbital. Which process will give you the more possibility to create the multi-exciton generation? Because if you have a hot electron energy which is equivalent to, which is enough to get the another excited another electron from HOMO to LUMO, then you will get a multi-exciton.
But for symmetric case,
you
need much high energy to have the same thing.
Because your energy is divided half to the hole, half to the electron. So ultimately,
or you need really to have a very strong coupling between electron and hole, so they can move simultaneously and release this energy as well, right? But then this possible only when they're really very strongly correlated through the Coulomb interaction. And somehow we went to the physics instead of technical codes. And BT should punish us.
And because of the multi-exciton generation, we define this energy based on the band gap.
Okay.
Plus 2 band gap or 3 band gap window.
Yeah.
So we always select the band energy window by times of another band gap, and so it will, instead of giving an absolute number.
How many slides you still have?
Just a couple of slides. We're already on pre-step 3. So yeah, and then if we ready with these 2 input parameter file, and then we need to run this script. This script will just calculate the coupling and then give, not coupling, I mean initial excitation from this all information, coupling information and OS informations. Then you will get the number of file here. This I just read the all file, and you will get a DOS in electron and hole, and icon that is contain the all initial transitions. Which band?
Icon stands for initial condition.
Initial condition, yeah.
And E and H stays for the electrons.
Yeah, E for electrons and hole for H for hole. And the numbering is important here because then after the getting this, after the second step, we change the numbering because now it started from the 1 to 400. So 1 to 200 means is a LUMO, and 2 to 200 to 400 means, sorry, 1 to 99 is LUMO, HOMO.
Yeah.
200 to the remaining one is LUMO. And if you look on the icon that, this icon that also, they have another thing is, and we want to relax the electrons to this band, to suppose like this band, and we want to relax hole to this band, to this band. So if you look on the directions, this direction is actually opposite directions. So this is the, and this energy is lower energy compared to this band energy. So that means we are relaxing the hole from the lower energy to the higher energy. So in our code, work should go to the electrons or particle, not electron or hole as a particle, go to the lower energy. So because of that, when we run this script, is create another energy file for hole where the energy is multiplied by -1.
Okay, yeah.
So now you are getting the opposite direction, but is making your low energy. And numbering also change according to that way. So if you look on this one hole, you will see that is exciting from the close to the 200, but this one in the electron is excited.
How we numbering it? Like you go in HOMO is number 1 then, right?
And the HOMO is started from the number here to here. And
LUMO starts from number 1.
LUMO number 1.
So it goes from lowest to highest all the time, going 1 to whatever.
Yeah.
Wait, LUMO is number 1?
Oh, because we split that.
It's because of split energy.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Like technically, you prepare input files for electrons and input files for holes.
Yeah.
And then when you run it's pre-step, right? When he runs step 3 for the actual dynamics using surface coping, then you can run them simultaneously on the different directories, one for electrons, one for holes.
Yeah.
They don't talk with each other.
Okay.
So your code's also doing pretty much the same thing.
But you're gonna have 2 different, like 1 to 100, 1 to 100 or whatever.
So we need to run the step 3 separately for electrons and holes.
Yeah.
So what I do, we create a one directory for electrons, we run all of these things, and we got all parameters file for electron and hole. Then we create another directory with the hole, and then move everything there. And then we rename this file, or if we call any electron directory, you need to rename this file electrons, and whole you need to rename the other file. And for in case of energy, because this energy formatted by for whole, you need to change this energy file to the energy, and you can use the original file for electrons. It doesn't matter this. And they have another file. If you want to look on the orbital band number, they have another file is give you the information about the which old number and new number. Then it will help you to figure it out. Now time to run the step 3. Step 3, if we need to run this script. This script do all these calculations. Actually, this keyword for running for a photon, but this one is a Linux command. It will let you run this in the background, so you don't need to keep your shell open for all times. So same thing, actually same script will work for the Thunder too. I can use excuse me, on the Thunder. So I already told about this information. And after the step 3, we will get all information, result, and then we need to do some post-processing things. This is known as a post-step 3, or I just running the step 3. And first one is need to run this script. This script will run on the SS state file. This is containing all coupling information here. And then after this one, you will get average surface hopping, and then you will get this this file with the probability for normalized probability of other information. But we need to.
What's the difference between them again? These two files.
Actually, I didn't look on this file. This one is the average surface hopping, but this one is the.
I think it tells you statistics, right? So it means it probably has information on, not without average. So it's kind of put is probably like you can really get the distribution for at which energy windows when you go step by step, you're getting this the most effective transitions. Let's say, for example, you have a big splitting between electronic levels, right? So let's say at high energy you have all your splitting is very small. But when you go close to gap, you might have a few states which will be splitted very much, like in molecules, almost. And for nanostructures, this is very possible. Our lumens typically shifted, they split it from the main band. So then, because of very strong mismatch between energies, right? So you expect that you might have very different times or probabilities, which dictating your times of the jump, highest versus when you come in closer to the edge, right? And then kind of you can really get into more details instead of averaging everything. You can really look on it kind of carefully for all cases and look on a distribution. Might be useful.
And then we need to run another script. This one I did not show. So, excuse me. So this script will do like something. As you saw the population, if you want to write the population, how population is relaxing to the time and energy. So we do the population and does these things for electrons and holes separately. And it will run a rate. Sometimes our methods sometimes work and some other system didn't work. That's why I asked questions on how we calculate the rate in his methodology. Yeah. And
when you say it doesn't work, it's not like it doesn't work and give you errors. It's always calculating the files. But when you plot your files, you see like all kind of oscillations.
It's very hard to
It's not showing nice beautiful function.
Hard to translate to any result. I mean, physical result. Yeah, it's maybe because the relaxation is not following the single state. I mean, first order relaxation. So if you get the first order relaxations, you will get a nice exponential curve, exponential fitting. So it's maybe because of there are some internal excitations and then relaxations to the or maybe or it's maybe related to the multiple state. A population is like 0.5, 0.5, 0.2, 0.3. So in that case, you will get.
You don't finish in your relaxation at
I forget that term is like higher order relaxations. If that relaxation is related to the relaxing from the multiple state, not from the one state. Yeah. So in that case, it's very hard to define your rate by exponentially, or it's going to by exponentially. And there was some like my own script to get this plotting this one. I was trying to show you the.
You're not plotting with origin. You making your own script and then.
Yeah, origin means because it's written in separately, and also energy window is very long, so you need to spend a lot of time to get a one matrix put in one things. So rather than I write a Python script, is just get that information from the electrons and holes and make a single matrix and just put in origin.
And again, your DOS pop file includes like. It's multiply your dose at this moment of time to the population at that moment of time, average population, I guess, right? But kind of with the same time interval as you were running through the dynamics, let's say 1 femtosecond interval, right? So it means you have 1,000 steps, you will have 1,000 points in this file, right?
Yeah.
For the time.
For the time, yeah.
And you saying that you're reducing this, like you're taking not every femtosecond, but every fifth or something like this, or how you reduce the size of the file?
No, size means this file is written for whole energy window.
No.
So
like you're not taking less. Zero, yeah. You're not taking less kind of snapshots from your trajectory. You're just playing with energy bands. Yeah, formatting these things. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't do anything. It's just a formatting and compiling the two files, because. And we will get a one electron relaxation from one directory, whole relaxation from one directory. So if you plot separately, you will get whole electrons, and another figure you will get just electrons. So if you want to plot in origin, you need to do some tuning and putting on the one matrix. So in this case, doing these things, nothing very important. And this script, I have another script to do the average electron and hole. If you remember in Aaron's, in Aaron's figure, you see the one line is showing like exciton instead.
Electron and holes. In both cases, yeah, it's give you the average electron energy and average hole energy. I can show you the figure.
No? Well, Osamus is already disconnected, but we are still on the recording, so we can.
So there's the for rates calculations to run the another script, and it's for exciton relaxation. So what do you need? We need the rates file from the electrons and hole and put it in the one separate directory, and also out file, and then you do this all calculations. And that's all about our third step 3. And there are some other related calculations like plotting the absorption spectra based on separate. This is not related to the surface process.
Okay, thanks, Java. Any questions to the speaker?
I should include some figure too, plotted by any of this one.
We will repeat same things maybe next year.
No, I mean, if I show the figure, then it will make more sense to what is going on there.
Well, if there are no questions, let's thank all speakers once again. Let's hope that this meeting will be helpful in using practical skills for analyzing your models through electron dynamics and